Good evening, sir. My name is Lorenzo, and I'm a student with Rabbi Levi Volvovsky. Hi. And during our classes, we talked many times about what it means to be a spiritual leader of the generation, like Levi Volvovsky is, and like you are. So spiritual leaders, we saw, have always had to deal not only with religious themes, but also with matters of society, authority, culture, and politics. So their authority was almost never put in discussion, even though most of them had to experience contrast sometimes in their communities. So, but nowadays it seems that the audience is quickly changing, because information is always very quick to get. So even ideas and solutions to life problems are very fast and even downloadable with a click. So I would like to ask you, how are the leaders, the future leaders of the generations going to have to approach to their new kind of audience in a world where tomorrow everyone will be born with this very, very fastly reachable information, notice, and ideas?
What does it take to be a spiritual leader, especially in a fast-changing world like ours? Number one, and this we learn from Moshe Rabbeinu above all, but from all the prophets of Israel, the most important thing a leader must have is a vision of the future. A leader that doesn't have a vision is not a leader. It's a manager, yeah, but not a statesman, not a leader. And let me remind you of an anniversary which we observe today. I don't know if you're aware of this. Today is the 50th anniversary of the day that a great leader of African Americans, Martin Luther King, was assassinated. April the 4th, 1968. And I want to remind you of the last speech he ever gave in public in Memphis. He said, "I have climbed the mountain. I have been to the mountaintop, and I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I have seen the promised land." Watch it on YouTube. The last day of Martin Luther King's life, he spoke about the last day in Moshe Rabbeinu's life. Up the mountain, Har Nevo, seeing the promised land, but knowing he would not get there. So that power of vision lasted for 33 centuries, from Moshe Rabbeinu to Martin Luther King, and will continue to inspire generations 1,000 years from now. Vision never changes. Speed changes, technology changes, but even an autonomous vehicle, a self-driving car. Can you imagine a world without Jewish drivers? I think this is a beautiful concept, I think. Full marks to Google and everyone for doing this. But even self-driving cars, you need to stick in a destination, and that is a matter of vision. Secondly, there is what I call the Warren Buffett school of contrarianism. You know Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett got to be the richest man in the world, or almost the richest man in the world, by one simple rule. When everyone else is selling, buy. When everyone else is buying, sell. This is what is called the way of Avram Avinu. Avram Ha'ivri. Hu be'ever echad v'chol ha'olam be'ever sheni. He was on one side, everyone else on the other side. What was the greatest civilization in the days of Abraham? Answer, Mesopotamia. Everyone wants to go to Mesopotamia. He's leaving Ur Kasdim and going in the opposite direction. What was the greatest civilization in Moshe Rabbeinu's day? The Egypt of Ramses II. Everyone wants to go there. He wants to get out. Jews are contrarians. So when everyone is thinking short term, think long term. I have to tell you, I don't know how long ago this was, maybe 20 years, maybe a little less. The last thing in the world anyone would do is think, I want to change the world. Let's think of a new search engine for computers. Do you know how many search engines there were 20 years ago? I had 20 of them at least on my computer. Yahoo, Alta Vista, I've forgotten all their names. Who needs another search engine? But along come two Jewish individuals, one called Larry Page, one called Sergey Brin, and they come up with a new algorithm and they change the world by something called Google. That is an act of contrarianism. You're a nice Jewish boy, you're going to Harvard, your girlfriend is going to Boston University, you have a row. What does he do? He goes off and invents Facebook. A little nice young Jewish boy called Mark Zuckerberg. Do the opposite from everyone else. Do you know what people's attention spans are nowadays with Facebook, with Instagram? How long? How long can people concentrate for? 2.5 minutes, 10 seconds. Do you know how long it takes to complete a study of the Babylonian Talmud? 7 years. You do not get longer attention spans than Jews develop. And you need that long attention span, because without that long attention span, no Bill Gates, no Steve Jobs, no Sergey Brin, no Mark Zuckerberg. The people who really succeed, like the late Steve Jobs, who invented the iPad, refused to let his kids have an iPad. He wouldn't let an iPad into his house. Why? Because he knows perfectly well that what you need to succeed is long attention spans, not short attention spans. And I once bought, although I may be slightly out of date here, my most spiritual purchase. It was called Bose noise cancelling earphones, although maybe Beats are better, I honestly don't know. You know this? Why? Because I define faith as the ability to hear the music beneath the noise. Judaism is a noise-canceling set of earphones, because all that noise is going nowhere. It is going nowhere very fast indeed. Today, young people are being addicted to Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, YouTube. They asked the head of Netflix, who is your biggest competitor? And he replied, sleep. Our kids are getting addicted to this stuff. And it is bad for their mental health. It is bad for their physical health. You don't need to know all the stuff, but if you do, it is Jean Twenge, who's the professor at University of California, San Diego, who's just written the book iGen, which documents all of this. I'll be doing a little radio program with her in a few weeks' time. It is ruining kids throughout the world. And do you know what people are discovering? They're discovering that to save their kids, they have to have one day in which there are no screens. No phones, no tablets, no laptops, no television. And do you know what they call it? It's the latest invention. It's called Shabbos. Otherwise known as digital detox. Why did Jews become pioneers in one field after another, not in one generation, but throughout 38 centuries? Because when all the world is going that way, we are not impressed. We go another way. And that is why I had the privilege of, working with 4 prime ministers in Britain who wanted to know, what is a Jewish view on these problems that they were facing. I never related to them on Jewish issues. They always wanted to know my view on their problems. Why? Because we have given this gift to stand a little apart and not follow the herd. And that is what leaders need to do nowadays. Have that vision. Don't follow the herd, because that means you are a follower, not a leader. And the biggest thing we need from political leadership today, and which is completely missing, and yet great leaders had that ability. Franklin Delano Roosevelt had it. Winston Churchill had it. What do we call Moses? Do we call Moses the liberator? Do we call Moses the lawgiver? We call him Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses, our teacher. There is a role of leader as educator. We need educators today to tell us why are we, or in the Britain's case, aren't we Europeans? What shall we do with climate change? What shall we do with artificial intelligence? Because if we think intelligence is what makes us human, we've already lost, because those algorithms out there are cleverer than we are. Amazon and Google know more about you than you know about you. And we need to remind ourselves what it really means to be human, what it means to have a just society, what it means for everyone to have a chance. And that needs leaders as educators. So those are the three things. First, have the vision. Second, be willing to stand back from the crowd. And third, teach people the way from here to there.